Welcome to our walk together. Before we embark on this incredible journey, let me share a few important messages. For those tuning in on YouTube, we would be truly grateful if you could hit that subscribe button and become a part of our thriving community. Your comments and feedback on both the video and audio versions of the podcast are not just welcome but invaluable to us. Now, let's dive into the podcast and explore the exciting content we have prepared.
Hello, and welcome to Our Walk Together. This is the place where we have a chance to listen and to learn from others on our walk. My name is Paul Long, and I will be your host, but also a fellow traveler. I'm glad that you're able to join me today on Our Walk Together. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Our Walk Together. Wanted to talk a little bit about Beatitudes today. The Beatitudes are some of the most powerful and timeless teachings from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. They outline a way of life that focuses on humility, compassion, and a deeper sense of purpose. But how do these ancient principles fit into our modern lives? Today's world is filled with challenges, personal, social, and spiritual, that often leave us searching for direction. The Beatitudes offer a perspective that feels both refreshing and grounding, showing us how to find hope, joy, and meaning no matter what we face. The Beatitudes are a key part of Jesus' teaching and have inspired countless people throughout history. Found in the Gospel of Matthew, these 8 statements describe attitudes, actions, and mindsets that lead to a blessed life. They're not just ideals, but a blueprint for a heart aligned with God. Let's take a closer look at where they came from and what they mean. The Beatitudes are part of the Sermon on the Mount, which is recorded in Matthew chapter 5. This sermon is one of the most well-known passages in the Bible and is the heart of Jesus' message. Picture the scene. Jesus, surrounded by a diverse crowd, fishermen, farmers, women, children, the poor, climbs a hill. He sits down and begins to teach. He doesn't speak with the booming authority of religious leaders. Instead, his words carry a quiet power, offering a message of hope and reassurance. Let's listen to those words.
When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak, and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you.
At this time, the people listening to Jesus lived under Roman rule and faced hardships every single day. Many were poor, oppressed, or outcast, longing for justice and healing. The Beatitudes spoke directly to their hearts, flipping the convention wisdom upside down. Jesus wasn't talking about outward success or religious performance. Instead, he blessed those who seemed forgotten by society. The poor in spirit, the meek, the peacemakers. Jesus' words in the Beatitudes challenge traditional ideals of power and success, even today. They remind us that God's kingdom looks different from the world's systems. The blessings are for those who are humble, merciful, and hungry for righteousness, promising them comfort, fulfillment, and a glimpse of heaven. At first glance, the Beatitudes may seem like a simple list, but there's a poetic rhythm and depth to them. Each statement follows the same pattern. Jesus names a group of people, describes their condition, then promises blessing. For example, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. The word blessed in this context doesn't mean wealthy or lucky. It's closer to deeply joyful or at peace. Jesus is describing a spiritual happiness that comes from living in alignment with God, even in the midst of struggle. Each blessing feels paradoxical. How can mourning lead to comfort? How can meekness inherit the earth? It's as if Jesus is inviting us to see life through God's eyes, where weakness becomes strength and humility is the doorway to greatness. The Beatitudes build on each other, almost like stepping stones. Being poor in spirit is the starting point. Acknowledge that we need God. From there, the other blessings follow. Mourning our brokenness, showing mercy, seeking peace, and enduring hardship for doing what's right. These aren't random traits, but a progression of growth in faith and character. Each beatitude also reflects a promise of God's presence and future restoration. Whether it's inheriting the earth, being shown mercy, or seeing God, these blessings point to both present comfort and eternal hope. They remind us that while life may be hard, God's goodness is always at work. The structure of the Beatitudes isn't just poetic, it's practical. It gives us a framework for living a life that prioritizes inner transformation over outer success. This isn't about perfection. It's about letting God shape our hearts, one step at a time. The Beatitudes hold timeless truths, but their relevance feels especially sharp in today's world. They address universal struggles, grief, injustice, pride, division, that are just as real now as they were in the time of Jesus. What makes them so powerful is their countercultural nature. They turn the world's values upside down, offering blessings to those who often feel forgotten or overlooked. Let's explore how these teachings apply to the challenges we face today. Blessed are the poor in spirit. What does it mean to be poor in spirit? In modern life, what does it mean? It's not about financial poverty, but recognizing our need for God. In a culture that celebrates self-reliance and individual success, this idea cuts against the grain. To be poor in spirit is to embrace humility. It's admitting we don't have all the answers and can't control everything. Think about how often pride gets in the way. Whether it's refusing to help when we need it, refusing help when we need it, or striving to appear perfect online. We're taught to hide our weakness. But this beatitude invites us to do the opposite. It's a call to let go of ego and rely on God's grace rather than our own strength. When we do, we gain something greater, a place in God's kingdom where humility is the highest value. Blessed are those who mourn. Grief is one of the hardest emotions to bear. Yet it's something all of us will face. Loss, whether it's losing a loved one, a dream, or even faith in humanity, can feel overwhelming. In today's world, where tragedies often dominate the headlines, it's easy to feel numb or hopeless. But Jesus calls the mourners blessed because their pain opens the door to healing and compassion. When we allow ourselves to grieve, something beautiful happens. It connects us to others who are also hurting and softens our hearts. Mourning isn't just about sadness. It's about the hope that follows. Comfort doesn't always come quickly or easily, but it's a promise we can hold on to. Whether through a kind word, a shared memory, or God's quiet presence, healing begins when we name our pain. Blessed are the meek. The word meek doesn't have the best reputation today. It's often confused with being weak or passive. But meekness, in the context of the Beatitudes, is a strength rooted in restraint and kindness. It's the ability to stay calm and steady, even when the world feels chaotic or unfair. In a society that prizes dominance and loud opinions, meekness feels counterintuitive. But think about the power, quiet confidence. It's the friend who listens more than they talk, the leader who values teamwork over ego, or the person who chooses patience over anger. Meekness isn't about being a pushover. It's about refusing to let pride or aggression control your actions. By cultivating this strength, we create a space for peace in a world that often feels divided. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. This beatitude speaks directly to our desire for justice. To hunger and thirst for righteousness is to long for things to be set right, not just in our personal lives, but in the world around us. It's the activist who fights for equality, the neighbor who defends the vulnerable, and the person who refuses to stay silent in the face of injustice. In today's climate, the need for righteousness feels and is urgent. Inequality, discrimination, and corruption are hard to ignore, but this beatitude reminds us that our efforts are never in vain. When we seek justice with sincerity and perseverance, we align ourselves with God's vision for humanity. While the road can feel long, Jesus promises that our hunger will be satisfied. Not in the way that we expect, but in a way that brings lasting change. The remaining Beatitudes speak to issues that are just as relevant today. You can think through the same pattern as we just talked about. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are the peacemakers. Our divided culture needs peacemakers more than ever. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, standing up for right, standing up for what's right. Each of these blessings challenges us to live differently, to prioritize mercy, peace, and integrity over self-interest and fear. They remind us that even in the messiness of modern life, we're called to reflect God's love and grace in powerful, practical ways. Living the Beatitudes doesn't mean staying silent or passive. It calls us to stand boldly for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. Speaking truth to power is about aligning our actions with the values Jesus taught, no matter the cost. Here's how we can all take a public stand for the Beatitudes. Advocate for the forgotten. Write letters to your local representatives, sign petitions, attend public meetings to reflect and push for policies that reflect mercy, justice, and care for the marginalized. Live consistently with your beliefs. Let your choices reflect your commitment to truth and justice. Whether it's what you buy, how you spend your time, or the words you use, your actions tell a story. Practice courage in everyday moments. You don't have to make big speeches to live boldly. Sometimes it's as simple as defending a coworker who's being treated unfairly, or speaking up when you notice bias. We all need to surround ourselves with people who share our values and can support us, especially when standing up feels lonely. There's strength in numbers. Speaking truth to power isn't always easy, and it may lead to pushback or misunderstanding, mocking, persecution, or even being shunned. But remember, each small act of bravery shines light into the world, drawing us closer to the kingdom Jesus described. Living out the Beatitudes in daily life is not about perfection. It's about being intentional. Whether it's quiet acts of humility or bold steps for justice, these teachings invite us to be both faithful and fearless. Each choice we make brings us closer to the kind of life Jesus called for us to be. The kind of life Jesus called us to lead. A life marked by love, mercy, and hope. In conclusion, the Beatitudes are as relevant today as they were centuries ago, offering a profound guide to living with humility, compassion, purpose. Their timeless wisdom challenges us to rethink success and embrace values that truly matter: mercy, justice, and peace. These teachings aren't just ideals to admire. They're choices we can make daily, whether it's showing forgiveness, standing for fairness, or bringing calm to conflict. The Beatitudes remind us that even small actions can reflect God's love in big ways. Take a moment to reflect now on these blessings. How can they shape the way you live, work, and connect with others? Let their message inspire you to live with courage, kindness, and hope in a world that desperately needs all three.
I seldom include my personal opinions or thoughts in these podcasts, but as I prepared this podcast, I need to speak out because it has become clear that our country, and in particular the current administration, would rather serve the rich than serve the poorest among us, especially those who are hungry, including the children throughout our world. By cutting the agency or agencies that coordinate the money and support for these programs, many of whom are Christian or Catholic-based, the children go hungry. I ask you to examine your conscience with this question. What does the message of the Beatitudes say? If the values of Jesus are not reflected in these actions or your beliefs, then maybe it is time that we all need to step up and stop being silent. Thank you for listening.
We are absolutely delighted to have you with us on this wonderful journey. We truly appreciate the incredible support from our growing audience and how our listeners enthusiastically share this with others. For all the latest updates about the podcast, make sure to visit the website at ourwalktogether.com. To be the first to receive news about our next episode, simply send us your email address, and we will gladly add you to our newsletter mailing list. Rest assured, we never sell or share your email addresses. If you have questions or concerns, please email us through the website. All emails are answered. Thank you once again for taking the time to be here today.
Well, the music means that our time together is at an end. I would like to thank you for walking with me today. It's been a great blessing. All of the information about the podcast is available on the website ourwalktogether.com. Please invite your friends to also listen. You are the best advertisement. And so, until we meet again, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord let his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look upon you kindly and give you